Ladies and gentlemen, our referee has called a stop to this contest, declaring the winner by knockout and new MMA show! Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting round, one-on-one of and new MMA show. I am your host, Michael Hansen, and I do all kinds of dynamite things with microphones because I'm a ring announcer and MMA cage announcer. And I am joined this week by only one of my two interlocutors. Introducing him from New York, he is Mark Priaulx. What's up, buddy?
What's up, dude? Just the two of us this week. I'm filming from a new location, as anybody can see. The old office that has been the location for the past 2 years is no more. So we're going to have to figure this out. Right now I'm in the corner of a den. It's a little boring. I don't like it. I don't have room to prop things up as I did in the past. I don't have cool books behind me like you. I do actually have a lot of autographs and sports items in this thing, but you can't even see through the glass with the camera. So it looks like there's just basically nothing behind me. So we're going to figure this out as we go forward so I don't look so boring. But this is what we're rocking with tonight. At least I'm not washed out and I'm in normal human being light instead of the infrareds of the old office. I mean, not infrareds, ultraviolets.
Yeah. Omar could not join us because he's in vacation land somewhere in the world. Where did he go? In Mexico. How long was he there for? Do we know this?
I think he said like 4 days, some shit like that.
Wow, good for him.
Yeah.
Must be nice, Omar, if you're watching this right now. Well, I'm about to get on a plane tomorrow morning myself, not for vacation, for work. I'm hopping a flight to New York for the season finale of Warriors Cup 57, going down at the Melrose Ballroom in Queens, New York. Got a few Warriors Cup titles on the line. I believe there's a couple of WBC Muay Thai titles on the line. If you're in New York and you want to check out the home of East Coast Muay Thai, and one of the best Muay Thai promotions in the country, then come check us out. We're at the Melrose Ballroom in Queens. And you can also check it out on warriorscup.tv. They just launched their own website to stream their own fights. So warriorscup.tv, check it out. Find it on my Instagram. Anyhow, that's what I'm up to. I still got to pack. It'll get done.
When did you say you leave? Tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow morning.
And where? Sorry, you said it's at in Queens?
Yeah, in Queens.
Dude, I could have possibly swung it. I didn't know you had one this week.
It's all good, man. It's all good. Also exciting this, when I fly in tomorrow, I booked a flight a little bit earlier because I'm going to a suit company. I might be getting my first suit sponsor, which is cool.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow, that's dope. What's the company? Or
It's
can we not know?
Yeah, I think you can know. I haven't gotten the suit yet. Tomorrow I'm going for a fitting of the suit.
Nice.
The company's called La Contento, and they're in Brooklyn. So,
how'd you get hooked up with that? I have no voice. I have to rectify this.
They reached out to me on Instagram. They're like, "Hi, Michael. We want to see if you would wear our suit to your events." And I was like,
"Wow, dude.
Yeah, cool.
You're a fucking real celebrity now.
Let's go."
Crazy.
Yeah, man. I'm excited. It'll be cool to wear a custom suit. That's pretty dope.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude. I love a custom suit. I haven't got one in a minute.
Yeah. So that's what's going on with me. My kids are healthy for once for the next 5 minutes, but then we'll see. Anyway.
It's good. Yeah, I've recovered from the COVID. I
didn't really
have much. It hit my wife.
You weren't feeling it that bad.
No, I never really had much at all. It hit my wife bad for a day or two. But
okay.
All is well. All is well.
Good, man. Good.
Just fucking hectic. You should see the rest of this room right now. The amount of shit in it because I'm moving out of the other office.
It's all good, dude. You should see my house. I got 2 kids too. Anyway, nobody is tuning into this show, Mark, to hear us kvetch about our kids and our messiness. We're here to talk about a little bit of MMA from this past weekend and this coming weekend. It'll probably be maybe a little bit more of a toned down, casual show being a two-man conversation, but we're going to have it. Let's go down a little rundown of our show. We're going to start off with our first segment, as we always do, on the marquee, talking about all the fights then from this past weekend's UFC Fight Night, Dariush versus Tsarukyan. We're going to find out who rose and who fell in the aftermath of these results in your rankings that we affectionately call on this show the Priaulx Rankings. There will be no inside the MMA sphere because Omar is in Mexico. And then we're going to look ahead to this coming weekend's UFC Fight Night, Song versus Gutierrez. And there you have it. So before we get into any fight talk, Mark, let's address our viewers and listeners. If you're watching this right now on YouTube, hey, thank you so much. We appreciate each and every one of you guys. Mark, Omar, and myself have been carrying on this MMA conversation for several years that we decided to take to the internet. We decided to take our talents to the internet. And there you have it. And we've been building a little bit of a community here on YouTube and on social. So if you're watching this on YouTube, drop us a like, hit the thumbs up. These are all things that are free ways to support the show if you've been liking what you've been watching. If you agree with any of our takes, let us know down in the comments. If you disagree with any of our takes, let us know down in the comments. We are always here for that thoughtful MMA discussion. As always, keep it classy. If you want audio only, hey, we got you there. Find us wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, find us on social media and all the relevant places at @NU_MMA show. Okay, Mark. This week, the name on the marquee has got to be Arman Tsarukyan, who this past weekend defeated Beneil Dariush by knockout in round number 1 of their 5-round main event. The official time, 1 minute and 4 seconds of the very first round. He dusted Dariush in just over a minute. What was your initial reaction, and what are your thoughts in the aftermath?
It's even wild right now to hear that it took 1 minute and 4 seconds. Like, it still sounds wrong. It's like it couldn't have been that quick.
He ran him over. He ran him over.
Real quick, as we adjust to this new setting, does my mic sound hot or good?
To me, you sound fine.
Okay.
What about me? What about my mic?
You sound normal. I mean, your mic situation hasn't changed, so I would hope you sound normal. But yeah, I still cannot believe how this fight went. I was settling in for what I'm imagining is going to be a long, competitive fight. I honestly fully expected to see that go the full 25 minutes. And next thing you know, Beneil Dariush is out cold on the mat. And it was a same side combo yet again. You're seeing these more and more in MMA lately, which is awesome to see. But this was a new wrinkle to it because this one wasn't like jab kick like we've seen out of a few guys. It was knee hook, and that's new. He grabbed the Thai plum through the knee. It may have partially landed. You can't really tell, but either way, it got Beneil to kind of snap his head up and back up with his head in the air. And Arman immediately followed with the right hook. And it was as flush as it gets, the ground and pound even more flush. And that was all it took for Arman. And that is a monster win for that man. That is exactly what he needed. And we're going to see, but I imagine that may go a long way in him getting the types of fights that he's been chasing and been unable to get for a while, because you knock out Beneil Dariush in 1 minute or whatever that was, all of a sudden you become a lot more interesting to guys like Oliveira and Gaethje and Poirier and even Islam. So we'll see what happens for him, but he has broken through to the very precipice of the elite.
Yeah, dude, after dropping the decision to Gamrot in summer of 2022, so a little over a year ago, he's now won his 3rd fight in a row, defeating Ismagulov, Joaquim Silva, and now Beneil Dariush. Silva and Dariush, both knockouts. And the man is just rising. I feel like Tsarukyan is a guy at lightweight who really nobody has wanted to fight because he is this young phenom who is just so talented. He's just so talented. And it's crazy to think that his first fight in the UFC was a loss to Islam Makhachev.
I know, it is crazy.
And overall, he's just been on a tear ever since. He just has seemed untouchable. And even that fight against Gamrot was very close.
Yeah, I thought he won the fight. I mean, it was very close. Don't get me wrong, but I had scored that fight for Arman.
Yeah. So Tsarukyan, man, he just looks so good. And did any of us pick Dariush last week? Did Omar pick Dariush?
I could tell you. I think we all
would have.
I think we all were on Arman. Oh, dude, I forgot I'm on the wrong computer. I don't have my files on it. For a little peek behind the scenes, I went to hook up to my laptop tonight and realized it had no USB ports. So now I'm on my wife's laptop so that I can plug in my mic and my camera, because usually I'm in my office on a different computer. Let's see. Last week, we all took Arman, so good for us. I did.
Good for us.
This is one of my worst cards in a minute. Mike's lead is back up to 4 for those watching at home, so I'm in big trouble with 2 events left in the year.
Yeah, man, devastating finish and devastating also for Beneil, who also is a guy. Not that he's a young phenom, but Beneil was sort of a late career phenom, so to speak, and also a guy that it seemed like not a lot of the established elite lightweights were jumping at the bit to fight, because Beneil is dangerous, man. He just is.
Oh, for sure.
So for Tsarukyan to do what he did to Beneil in just over a minute is jaw-dropping. It truly is. So
yeah,
I think
go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I think that Tsarukyan finally has arrived, and I think that he's, after this win, he's pretty much undeniable, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. That doesn't mean he's going to get one of these fights, because I guess we'll jump into what the next fight could be. It still sounds like, according to Dana, that we are going to get Islam and Charles too. So let's assume Charles is not fighting Arman. That leaves Justin Gaethje and Dustin Poirier. If Justin Gaethje tells you, as he's been telling you, I don't give a fuck, I'll sit as long as it takes, I'm fighting the winner of Islam and Charles Oliveira, no one would be surprised. If Dustin Poirier says, I'm only taking fights that really excite me at this point, and that one's not really getting me going to fight Arman Tsarukyan. I'd rather fight some other, who knows what super fight that they end up making. Would that shock anyone? Not really. So it's like, as undeniable as Arman Tsarukyan has become, it's still possible that none of those guys fight him. And if none of those guys fight him, then he's right back fighting someone who's still in the pack. So it's almost like this ascension was all for naught. So he's still in a tough spot. You would think either way, no matter who he fights, with one more win, he has to get talked about as like a title shot. So he's going to get there one way or the other if he keeps winning. But yeah, I don't know. I hope Poirier takes the fight, is my take on it, because I do think Justin seems like he's going to wait. I do think Oliveira is getting Islam. And that leaves Dustin. He keeps saying he wants to fight at UFC 300, that he just needs the fight that excites him. I don't know if this is it, but if there's any statement that Arman could have made to get Dustin to take the fight, that's it. And I know Dustin respects Beneil Dariush. He has said it before. So to see Beneil get put out like that, maybe he's like, you know what? Let me go out there. I got knocked out by Justin in my last fight. Let me go out there and turn back this guy and remind everyone how good I am. Maybe that happens in Poirier's head, and maybe we do get to see it. But I don't know.
So we will wait until the Priaulx Rankings update to find out where you have Tsarukyan in the lightweight picture here. But I'll just say now that the UFC now ticked him all the way up to the 4 spot. So officially in the top 5 for the UFC. And
I think you can tell from my my fights that I just mentioned there that I have him in the same exact spot.
Yeah, pretty much.
He's number 4.
So in terms of matching him up, you would say Poirier would be your first choice if you were the matchmaker? Yeah. Really trying to nudge Poirier and be like, hey, look, this is the big one right here now.
Yep. That's what I'm trying to nudge. Anything below Poirier or, Gaethje, if it somehow worked, just feels like it's below what Arman should be doing right now. Like, it's not going to be Chandler. Chandler's waiting for Conor still. You would think it's not going to be a rematch with Gamrot. That doesn't feel like what should be happening right now. Fiziev is out, Hooker's out. Like then you're all the way down to like Jalin Turner. Like it doesn't, you know what I mean? Like it almost has to be Poirier, or you're like, what are we doing?
And you think from Poirier's perspective, a win over Tsarukyan would justify him getting to Makhachev?
See, it all depends on timelines because I don't know when Islam Charles is happening. It's so surprising to me that that's still not booked yet at this point. You would have thought that was on the calendar by now. And then if Justin is going to get the winner of that, obviously it's 2 more fights that the winner of Dustin and Arman would have to wait to play out. But you know, if that was at UFC 300 and then the winner of Dustin and Arman just waits for a bit, they could be right there.
Okay. Let's say a bit about Beneil then. Tough loss for at this point in his career. He had been on such a tear, rising so much. What do you think could be an appropriate next opponent for him at lightweight?
Yeah, Beneil's status right now is like a perfect depiction of how quickly things can go south in MMA. He was finally getting his title shot. He was supposed to fight Islam. Got hurt, fell apart. Or sorry, that wasn't his. He was supposed to fight Islam to become number 1 contender. Got hurt, fight fell apart, comes back, earns his way up to the Oliveira fight, has another shot to become the number 1 contender, loses that. Then he has to fight this young buck, loses that, and now he's like basically eliminated from the picture without some crazy run. So it's like he got so close to finally reaching it, and now he's knocked way back. But for him, the fight I would love to see is Dan Hooker. I'm not sure how long Hooker's out. Obviously, he was supposed to fight Bobby Green on this card, and he just pulled out. But I would imagine Beneil getting finished two straight times the way he did, he may like to take a little time. And Neil and Hooker just seems like a fight that we got to cross off the list before we're done. So totally. That's where I would love to go.
Beneil and Dan Hooker?
Correct.
That'd be fantastic. Yeah, my heart goes out to the guy. He was on an 8-fight win streak in the UFC lightweight division, defeating quickly Thiago Moises, Drew Dober, Frank Camacho, Drakkar Klose, Scott Holtzman, Carlos Diego Ferreira, Tony Ferguson, and Mateusz Gamrot.
Yeah.
That is quite an 8-fight win streak.
Hell yeah.
And then Charles finishes him and Arman finishes him. Like he gets right to the top of the mountain and then he tumbles down, and it's tough, man. It's real tough.
It's tough.
Okay. Let's move on. I think that Conor and Chandler will fight within the next 5 to 8 years.
It is painful, isn't it? Like, truthfully, I don't understand what could possibly be preventing it from being booked. Conor came back into the pool. Every time you see him in an interview, he is begging for a date to be given to him. Literally begging as if he is desperate. Like saying, they've taken my livelihood. I just want a date. So like what is stopping a date from being given? I don't understand.
Yeah. Could it be drug testing? Could it be?
He's back in the pool. Like, just pick a date that's enough days away.
But hasn't Conor also expressed like wavering interest in the fight against Chandler?
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, really? Because I keep seeing Chandler being like, I'm going to keep waiting. No matter what, he has to fight me. Like, kind of indicating that Conor has become disinterested in the fight with Chandler.
You see Conor mention other names like on Twitter and shit, but every single interview I ever see with him, he's literally like, I don't care who I fight. They've taken my livelihood away from me. All I want is a date. I'm training. I'm ready to go. I just want a date. So like, it certainly sounds like if they give him a date and they say the fight is Michael Chandler, he's going to be like, sounds good to me.
What a great fight. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about this card. Sorry about that. My goodness. In the co-main event of UFC Fight Night. By the way, this went down in Austin, Texas at the Moody Center. I neglected to say that at the beginning. in front of 14,000 strong at the Moody Center. In the co-main event, also in the lightweight division, Jalin Turner finishes Bobby Green in the first round. The official time, 2:49. Mark, what in the hell did we watch in this finish, man? Reffing is a hard job, but my goodness, man, did Kerry Hatley, he did a bang-up job. What are your thoughts?
Sorry, I got to pull myself back into MMA because I just got all these updates that the Yankees traded for Juan Soto, so I'm fucking pumped.
Nice.
Okay. Refocus. Yeah, it wasn't good.
It wasn't good.
Obviously, there are two things to discuss when it comes to this fight, which is the fight and the stoppage.
Yep.
I will try to start with the fight. It's funny because if you were rooting for Bobby Green, the thing you feared the most was how that reach of Jalin Turner would combine with the hands-down approach of Bobby Green and create a scenario where he gets, clipped at range and gets hurt. But truly, that's not even what caused any of the problems. The shot that hurt Bobby was a counter right as he stepped in, and it landed perfectly on the temple. It staggered him, and he couldn't get his feet back under him. And then he was a sitting duck for the right hand that followed that, which landed super flush and dropped Bobby really bad. And now we get to it. I've seen a lot of bad stoppages in my life. Maybe there's some I'm forgetting. But right now, I'm going to tell you this was the worst late stoppage that I have ever seen. I couldn't believe what I was watching. I was so uncomfortable. It felt disgusting watching it. I went back and counted. Bobby Green ate 15 unanswered shots on the ground. And I'm not saying Jalin Turner threw 15 because there were some that didn't land. He threw 20-something. Bobby Green ate 15 unanswered shots on the ground. After already hitting the ground, borderline knocked out. He fell like a ton of bricks. That's inexplicable. It could have reasonably been stopped the second Bobby Green hit the mat, and no one would have had a problem with it. That's how bad he fell initially. You want to stay there, let him be a warrior, then you stop it sometime in the next 5 shots that land on the ground. Then come another 5 where Bobby Green lays flat on his stomach and is covering his head, not moving. But no, that stretch of 5 is also not good enough. Kerry Hatley lets continue more. He allows another 5 until he sees Bobby Green go 100% out cold and then still lets 2 more shots land after that. So I see stoppages like that, and I cannot think any other thought besides that the ref had something against the fighter and wanted to see him get hurt, because it's the only thing I can think of that can possibly explain how that went on as long as it did. There is nothing else that makes logical sense to me. And I'm not saying that's what I think. Like, I don't want to accuse Kerry Hatley of having it out for Bobby Green or something. The point I'm trying to make is just that my brain cannot find any other logical explanation for how you can allow that fight to go on as long as it did. I don't think I've ever been screaming at my TV for a longer period of time that a fight needed to be stopped. So I don't understand it. It was awful. It was disgusting. It was hard to watch. Bobby Green deserved far better than that. And Kerry Hatley should not work for a while, to put it lightly. I can't imagine you felt much different than me.
Yeah, no. I mean, I understand that reffing is a very hard job, and these refs kind of sometimes get killed either way. Whether it's early or whether it's late, sometimes it's a punch too early or a punch too late, and they get killed by us, and they get killed by media people and the fans. But this was not a punch too late. This was, to your point, thank you for tallying them up. The word is egregious. It was pretty egregious. Like you said, the way Bobby Green fell, and then the way that he was just flat on his stomach, his head in his face buried in his hands. I mean, to me, that is the definition of not defending yourself intelligently.
Correct.
Stop the fight. The fight's over.
Frankly, it is the sign for this fighter is asking me to stop the fight.
It was reminiscent of like early UFC knockouts. It was reminiscent if this was like UFC 5.
Yep.
Where they literally would just go until somebody is out cold. And that's not the sport we watch now. So really a head scratcher. It made me think, like, why don't we interview refs? Why don't we interview refs sometimes? Like, what were you seeing? What were you watching? Although then again, what would the poor guy have said? I don't know. What the hell was he watching though? That was a tough one. That was bad.
I mean, I heard Dana say that apparently he felt terrible about it when he rewatched it, but like, you're in the kit. Like, what did he think he was seeing in there? There was no sign of any escape, of any recovery. I don't get what, sometimes you could be like, oh, he did this, he moved this way. So you could see why the ref like stepped back for a second. There was nothing, zero.
He was just getting pounded on, man, until he went dark.
Yeah.
So, and I know that there are many fighters who say, I want my referee to be like that because I would rather get knocked out than get an early stoppage, than be stopped early.
Yeah.
These guys are all warriors and they want to go out on their shield. And Bobby Green himself didn't seem to have too much of a problem with it afterwards.
I'm not sure he had a clue what happened.
This is true. That being said, unfortunately, the egregiousness of the lateness of the stoppage took a little shine off of this great win by Jalin Turner. That being said, I'm excited again to see how far up he has jumped up the Priaulx rankings later on. But he's definitely climbing up the rankings, Mark. So put on your matchmaker hat and give me his next opponent.
Yeah, this was big for him. He came in. It's a fight that people knew he didn't necessarily want to take on the short notice. He got convinced to take it. He struggled with the weight. He had to weigh in twice. He made it. He's fighting Bobby Green, who has all this momentum. And he friggin' shined. He put him out in whatever it was, a few minutes. So, yeah, that's a big statement for Jalin Turner, especially rebounding from that loss that he took to Dan Hooker. So it's a big one for him. Unfortunately for him in terms of matchmaking, I don't know that there's anyone above him who he can really fight at this moment in time. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to say Renato Moicano. I know he's below him, but I do feel like Renato deserves a fight of that caliber, and I'm just not sure who else really makes a ton of sense at this point. And the win streak is only one for Jalin Turner. He did just lose the fight for this. So I think Turner and Moicano is probably where I go.
Yeah, lightweight is a little bottlenecked because it is a freaking murderer's row, as we know. But lightweight at the very, very top has a few guys who maybe are towards the end of their careers and they know it and they feel that they've earned the right to only fight in the big fights. I don't say this as a strike against any of them because I love them all dearly. But that being said, for a guy like a Jalin Turner who's trying to break into the top 10 in the upper echelon of lightweight, he now is kind of like knocking on the door and he's like, hey, I'm here. And everyone else is kind of like, big fucking whoop.
Yeah.
So Moicano's a nice matchup though. I like that.
And he's been turned back exciting by a couple guys above him already in Gamrot and Hooker. So that makes it even tougher to kind of match him up upward.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if Chandler wasn't fighting Conor, that could be a very exciting step up for him. And a very interesting physical mismatch between these two guys with the tallest lightweight and maybe the shortest with Chandler.
Chandler, it's funny because Chandler is a great candidate to fight a lot of these guys who are trying to come up, like a Gamrot, like a Fiziev before he got hurt, like a Jalin Turner, even like a Benoit Saint-Denis. Like Chandler and any of these guys would be a great fight, but that option is removed because we just have Chandler sitting there waiting for a million years.
Right. To fight an unranked Conor McGregor, which is so funny. And if Conor comes back and beats Chandler, if Conor comes back and knocks Chandler out, he's just gonna get like a title shot. He is.
I mean, he'll rightfully, if he does come back and knock Chandler out, the lowest you can rank him is like 5. Like he's gonna be right there.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's move on from the lightweights. Or Lo, you want to match up Bobby Green?
Sure. He's not easy to match up. But I will say Matt Frivola, who also just came off a big loss. He's in a very similar spot. Bobby Green hung on to his ranking in the UFC rankings. I see he's 14. Matt Frivola, you would think if these rankings continued, is probably 16, 17, something like that. So
Yeah.
they are both, right near each other. They're both coming off a loss. I think that's an exciting fight.
Dude, what about Jalin Turner against Saint Denis, who also is coming off of the win against Frivola?
Yeah, I considered saying it. I'd rather Saint Denis get that main event against Gamrot that he keeps talking about in Europe, which is the only reason I didn't match him with Turner, because I'm just hoping for that. But yes, Turner and Saint Denis is a good fight too.
Okay, let's now move on to the bantamweight debut of Deiveson Figueiredo, and it went very well, Mark, because he got the win over Rob Font by unanimous decision, and it was a shutout on the scorecards from the judges. All three judges gave Figueiredo all 3 rounds, 30-27 on every scorecard. What did you make of Figgy's bantamweight debut?
I was really impressed. Obviously, as you know, I picked Font in this fight. I don't pick Font fights well, man. Every time I doubt him, he'll like knock out Adrian Yanez, and then when I choose to believe in him, he does this. Yeah. But yeah, I thought that the jab of Font, just because of the size and the length, would be a factor. And whenever Rob Font can rely on that jab, he fights really well. So I thought it would be a factor here, but Figgy fought a beautiful fight that I thought was a mix of great preparation and obviously skill. But he went in there with a great strategy. He mostly nullified that jab by circling hard left almost all fight long. You could see it from jump that it was in his head that he was going to continually circle left whenever he had that opportunity, so that he was moving away from that jab hand and not allowing Font to use it to dictate. And when he wasn't circling, he was managing that range really well by staying all the way outside of jab range and only coming in to throw his own shots or hunt for a takedown and then dart right back out. So his game plan in terms of how to manage that jab range and take it away from Rob Font was beautiful. I'm sure Henry had a lot to do with that. But he played it perfectly. And then from there, he was able to rely on his own speed and athleticism, which was also making all of that darting in and out work. But he was able to lean on that. And then the power translated. I don't know that I thought his power would carry to 135 quite as well as it did. And it certainly did, because he was hurting Font all fight, especially in that third round. He had him wobbled. So he's a powerful dude for his power to carry like that up to bantamweight. And credit to Font, he hung tough. You could absolutely see that he put work in terms of his get-ups after what Corey Sandhagen did to him. So credit to him for that. He must have spent 1 million hours on the mat, because he looked way better in terms of getting up in this fight. But, he got beat. Figgy showed every single quality that makes him great. The speed, the power, the ability to dart in and out of range, the ability to mix it up with his wrestling, his skill on the mat. I mean, all of it. He's a super well-rounded fighter, and we know this. The question was just, can it translate to the top of bantamweight? And it seems like it can. So will he look quite that good against more well-rounded bantamweights, of which there are certainly a few here at the top? Who knows? But that was a great first step for him.
It sure was, man. And Rob Font is a guy who has tiptoed up to the summit of bantamweight here, in another arguably the best division in the UFC at times, at least. It was exciting. I'm super excited, because it also gives bantamweight a real shot in the arm, an infusion of new talent, of championship level talent that he was down at 125. So clearly he sucked down so much to 125, and we talked about this last week. There was enough room on his frame for him to fill in to 135, and he did not really seem like he was at a size disadvantage against Rob Font.
No, I agree. I thought when that fight started and they like met in the middle that he was going to look way smaller, and when they came out, I was like, oh, he looks all right.
Yeah. And he probably felt way better, man. I can't imagine doing that to my body.
Yeah. Yeah. His weight cuts were
God.
always tough.
Oh my God. And scary looking, man. He's one of those
Yeah.
ones where it's like, it's kind of scary. It's like, I hope he's okay.
Yep.
And that can't be good for your organs. Sucking all that water out of your organs, man. Your brain.
Yeah. I always think about that.
Dude, your brain is like all water.
Yeah.
Anyway. The question now is the rankings. And Rob Font is obviously, like I just alluded to, is a guy who has been towards the top of the bantamweight rankings. So where do you insert him? So in terms of like, do you just keep going straight up the upper echelon of bantamweight, Mark?
I do. So I guess I'll spoil the Priaulx rankings for the sake of the conversation. I have inserted Deiveson Figueiredo as my number 7 bantamweight. I believe the UFC has him as number 8. And they have him behind Song Yadong. I have him ahead of Song Yadong, so that is the difference there. But yeah, I march right up, and the fight I want to see is Petr Yan. Petr Yan is itching to get a fight booked. He's ready to come back. I think that is a perfect fight. I don't see why you'd even consider going in any other direction.
Wow.
To be honest, they were champions at the same time of 125 and 135, so you have that story as part of it. The style matchup is fantastic.
Yeah,
I think that's a money fight.
So you go past Song Yadong, and what's interesting to me is that I don't think of Rob Font as an imposing guy at 135 pounds, but when I think of Song Yadong, he's like this compact, muscled, much more imposing bantamweight that I think could really be a handful for Figueiredo, who's coming up from 125 pounds. But
I 1,000,000% agree with that. To be clear, my rankings are not like who I think wins the matchup.
Sure,
it's just based on your resume. And Song has a few losses on there that are he's got like the Kyler Phillips loss. Like there's a couple that kind of knock his resume, at least to me, an edge under what Deiveson Figueiredo's resume is. So, I mean, I debated it who was going above who, but that's ultimately how I made that decision.
I mean, it's not a league, and that's the thing. It's a combat sports promotion, so it's for the most part, most of the time, kind of like a league where like things are based on merit and record, but then sometimes not.
Yep.
It's like, well, this guy was the champion at 125, so we're gonna have him fight Petr Yan.
Yeah.
And man, what a fucking dynamite matchup that would be. My God. Let's go. I'm here for all of it.
For sure.
What about Rob Font, man? Like, where does he go from here?
I'd like to see him play the same role he was asked to play against Adrian Yanez again, and that's to test one of these up-and-coming guys who are trying to break through to the elite. And for me, that means Rob Font and Jonathan Martinez.
Oh, wow. Dude, Jonathan Martinez, no joke.
Yeah.
This guy. He could be the next guy, man. His leg kicks in this weight division are like nothing else.
Yeah. I mean, I hate to do it to Rob, but he's lost 2 in a row, so you gotta turn somebody back.
Rob Font has lost 4 of his last 5. The Yanez victory being the only green that sticks out on the recent record. And of course, Yanez also lost to the same guy, to
Martinez,
to Jonathan Martinez.
Yep.
Well. All right, let's keep rolling along here. Where are we at now? Let's talk Sean Brady versus Kelvin Gastelum, going down at 170 pounds. And Sean Brady spoils Gastelum's return to welterweight, finishing him in the 3rd round by submission via Kimura, the official time mark, 143 of round 3. What are your thoughts on Sean Brady backpacking Kelvin Gastelum?
Sometimes you watch a non-competitive fight and you try to figure out if the loser fought really badly or if the winner fought really well. And I think this fight was an example of both of those things happening. Kelvin did not look good. He knew what Sean Brady was coming into this fight. He knew he had to maintain space. He knew he had to stay off of the fence. And he didn't do well to stop anything that Sean Brady wanted to do. He didn't do any of those things. On top of that, I think almost everyone expected he'd have the advantage in the boxing, and he didn't even have that. He looked much slower than Sean in nearly every striking exchange that they had. So he looked very sluggish. Who knows if the weight cut had anything to do with that or not. On the flip side of things, I think Sean Brady looked amazing. I mean, truly dominant, more confident on the feet than we saw in the Beneil fight by far, more dialed in, more undeterred from his game plan. Now, obviously, Beneil gave him more to worry about than Kelvin did, but even so, I think this is the most impressed I've been with Sean Brady to this point. He boxed well. He looked really fast. He was really clean with his entries. And then his grappling is just on another level. Guys cannot escape from him, as we've seen. Kiesa had the same problem. When he has you on the ground, you can't get away from this guy. And in this fight, he didn't just show that guys can't get away. He went that extra step that you'd hope to see from him as he's rising up these ranks. And he tapped Kelvin Gastelum. And he tapped him to Kimura, which is a bit of a statement submission. And that's exactly what Sean Brady made in this fight. It is a big statement.
Yeah, you're right. It isn't just like your run-of-the-mill rear naked choke where he controls him and gets his back and eventually snakes in the arm. But yeah, the Kimura is something else. It really kind of grabs your attention. You're absolutely right. Man, Kelvin Gastelum, what would you call Kelvin a kind of like a fall from grace for a guy who at one point challenged for the middleweight title and gave 100%. Adesanya his toughest fight before Pereira, and now, I mean, I'm looking at his record on my screen now, and it's unfortunately it's a lot of red.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that was a very disappointing showing from Kelvin. I'm looking myself right now too. Yeah, dude, he's lost 3 out of 4. He's lost what? He's lost 5 out of 7. Has he lost 6 out of 8? Am I looking at this right?
Hold on. Yeah.
6 of 8?
It depends on how far back you want to go, but yeah.
Holy shit. Yeah, man, that's not good. That's not good at all.
So he was 10-0. And then he loses to Woodley, beats Marcourt, loses to Magny, back-to-back wins against Johnny Hendricks and Tim Kennedy. And then no contest against Vitor, loses to Weidman. Then he gets back-to-back wins against Bisping. He beat Michael Bisping and Jacare, gets the title shot, gives Adesanya his toughest fucking fight.
Yep.
And then since then, it's been kind of downhill, man.
Yeah, dude.
For Kelvin. Obviously, with mixed in with the weight cutting issues and all that kind of stuff, and yeah, man,
yeah, he's.
And Sean Brady was a tough. I'm sorry, keep going.
No, I was just gonna say he's gonna have to get a dub in the next one if he's gonna have any life as a contender going forward here.
Yeah, man. But dude, Sean Brady proved to be a very tough first welterweight test for him, man. Because Sean Brady is just so strong.
So strong.
And I've been less than thrilled. I have voiced being less than thrilled with Sean Brady and his overall approach to the fight. It's not the most exciting. He might agree, but he's fucking winning, and this guy is proving that he's pretty great and he's undeniable.
Yeah, I this felt like a much more dialed in Sean Brady to me.
Yeah,
it was he was more intent to find a way to end that fight, I thought.
And it seems like he had a lot to lose because Sean Brady, he's top 10 in welterweight. And now he's welcoming in Kelvin Gastelum, a guy who has lost however many of his last 7 or 8 fights, and welcoming him back down to welterweight. But he took care of business, man. He took care of business. That being said, who did he call out after the fight? Did he call out Gary?
He said if Gary got past Luque that he wanted Gary, yeah.
That would be a very interesting striker versus grappler. Classic. Yeah. Would you agree, or is there someone else at welterweight who you would rather see Brady match up with?
I think he's on the right track. I think the winner of that fight, if Luque is the winner, I think Luque works just as well. Is a great next opponent for Sean Brady. I also think there is a scenario where if Gilbert Burns is back anytime soon, I don't know exactly how long he is out, but it wouldn't shock me to see Sean get jumped that high into a Gilbert Burns fight if Gilbert needs an opponent. But assuming that Gilbert is not quite back yet, then yeah, I think that Gary Luque winner makes a ton of sense.
Either Gary or Luque. Maybe Luque a little bit less. I would be worried for the most part for either one of those guys that they just wouldn't have the grappling chops to keep up with Brady. But Burns intrigues me more for a guy with world-class jiu-jitsu to say, you want to go to the ground? You want to take me to the ground? Let's go.
Yeah.
That would be...
Burns may be the antidote for Sean Brady. That would be, I mean, so would Beneil, but...
Yeah, it's true. But that fight would be give me all the popcorn for that one.
Yeah.
Now, Kelvin, what are we doing with this guy? Is he staying at welterweight? Is he going back up to lightweight? He should cut to lightweight, in my opinion. Is he going back to middleweight? What do you think? What are we doing?
Who knows how he feels coming off a loss? Prior to the fight, he was saying that welterweight is his long-term home and that this is where he needs to be fighting. So again, who knows if his mind has changed at all now that he lost, but I'm going to go off that. I'm going to assume his next fight is still at welterweight. I don't think he'd give up on this experiment off of just one fight. So I do think he takes another welterweight fight. And I have one that I really like, which is him and RDA. I think that's a fun fight and a cool fight historically, considering each of their resumes to this point. RDA has made it clear that he's only looking for fights that grab his interest at this point in time. Obviously, he is not getting like a top 5 welterweight right now, so he's got to, settle somewhat. And I think Kelvin Gastelum is enough of a name and has enough of a historical record that RDA would be like, you know what, that's a cool one, I'll do that.
What about, now this would be a rematch, but, they fought 8 years ago. The litmus test of all litmus tests, Neil Magny at welterweight.
Yeah.
He's still ranked, Neil Magny is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it. Is he still ranked for me? Where is this man? He's number 15 for me. What's he in the UFC? Same thing?
13.
Oh, wow.
He's still 13 in the UFC.
Yeah, I mean, that works as well. Is Neil Magny booked?
I don't know.
I can't remember. He fights all the time.
I wouldn't be surprised because he fights a lot.
I know.
He's got to feed his kids, man.
Why
he's a good working dad. He's a working husband.
Why am I not working?
What was I going to say about this fight? I was going to say, yeah, Sean Brady proved to be a pretty fucking tough test for Kelvin Gastelum. And I think that, what is the opposite of a heat check?
Oh, yeah, Magny's fighting Mike Malott. I knew he was booked.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Mike Malott, watch out.
The opposite of a heat check is a...
Spot check? No. But Kelvin needs the opposite of that. He needs the opposite of a heat check. So I would want to scoop down a little bit. Maybe even an up-and-coming guy who's just outside of the rankings to see where Kelvin's at here. But at this point, I don't think he's going to get
a lot of those guys at welterweight is the problem. Like, so who does the UFC have ranked? Okay, so they go
Renat.
So, yeah,
I wouldn't want to fight Renat. My God.
Just looked, but so if I go past those guys outside of the rankings, you're talking like D-Rod, Li Jing Liang, Ponzinibbio, Randy Brown, Joaquim Buckley, Morono, Gunnar Nelson, Zaleski. Like, none of those are really like up and coming dude that Kelvin could like definitely turn back. Like, those are all dangerous guys.
Yeah.
So I don't know who you really go to satisfy like what you were just saying without dipping like a lot further down.
Where's Dos Anjos ranked? Is he not ranked? He's not ranked.
Dude, they have him in the lightweight rankings still, even though he has
they do
fought 2 consecutive fights at welterweight. It makes me nuts.
Yeah.
It makes me absolutely nuts. It makes no sense.
Well, there you go. Okay, let's move on. 2 more to digest here from the main card of UFC Fight Night. Dariush versus Tsarukyan in Austin, Texas. It went down at the Moody Center last Saturday in front of 14,000 strong. Still in the main card here in the lightweight division. Once again, Joaquim Silva defeated Clay, the ageless wonder Guida, by a unanimous decision. All three judges scored the fight 29-28 for Silva. Just to start us off here, Clay Guida is going to Clay Guida, man. And he has that knack for turning just about all of his fights into a Clay Guida fight. And going into the third frame, this was kind of anybody's fight. But Silva kind of edged him out in the third round and got the scorecards in his favor.
Yep.
Clay Guida, I believe he's turning 42 in a matter of days from as I say these words.
That's correct.
And that in and of itself, that this man is fighting in the UFC lightweight division at 42 years of age. How long has he been in the UFC? I need to look this up.
That's a good question.
I'll look it up and you give your reaction.
All right. But no, I agree totally. It's unbelievable. This was a good fight. It was a fun fight. And it had a lot of swings because Joaquim Silva spent a good 3-4 minutes in the opening of this fight doing next to nothing. I don't know if that was a strategic choice to make his reads or if he was just completely frozen by the insane activity that Clay Guida brings into the cage. It looked maybe more like it was that. But for 3-4 minutes, he did basically nothing, and he was letting Clay kind of not run away with round one because Clay wasn't doing a ton, but Clay was certainly taking round one. And then the first time Silva really committed to a punch, he dropped Clay with an uppercut and ended up adding some ground and pound to take that round. And it's a good thing he did because then he lost round two as well. So through the first 10 minutes, that uppercut where he dropped Clay was really all he had because Clay was fantastic in round two. And I shouldn't say the only thing he did. Round two was close. Live, I wasn't 100% sure who won it. I did give it to Clay. But he was fantastic. I mean, and props to Clay, like you said. He is just an old-fashioned, never quit, never stop dog. Like he is a true Energizer bunny. I know we always use that term talking about Clay, but that's what he is. And he's awesome to watch fight even at this stage. But it was 1-1 going into that third, all to play for, as Michael Bisping would say. And it was Joaquim Silva who stepped up and got it done. He totally turned it around in the third round. He stuffed every takedown. He attacked the neck anytime that Clay tried to hang on the legs or on the hips to take that away from Clay. And he angled off. He landed the better shots in the first half of that round. So it was a competitive fight and a good fight, but it was definitely Joaquim Silva who got it done and earned that W in the end.
Man, I'm scrolling through Clay Guida's record here. And the guy started his first pro fight, his first pro MMA fight was in 2003. 20 years, Mark.
20 years, dude. Holy shit.
20 years. He joined the UFC. He joined Strikeforce in 2006. And he fought for the WEC one time in 2006 as well. And then his first fight under the UFC banner was UFC 64 in October of 2006, defeating Justin James by rear naked choke. But look, man, the point I wanted to make is that not only has Clay Guida fought the who's who at lightweight in the UFC, this guy has some wins, man. He has wins over Nate Diaz, RDA, Anthony Pettis. He has a win over, this is later in his career, but he has a win over BJ Penn. He beat Joe Lozon. He beat Eric Koch. This was back in 2017. Eric Koch was good, dude.
Yep.
He has a win over Michael Johnson. Dude,
this guy. There was a time in Clay's career where he was like a win away from a title. He never fought for one, right? I'm trying to think back.
He is a title eliminator. He went on a 4-fight win streak, culminating in him defeating Pettis, and then he fought Benson Henderson in a title eliminator, but lost that.
Right. Yeah, and I think even earlier in his career, he had a spot where he was sniffing the title as well. Now I'm trying to scroll back. Yeah, dude, when he lost to Diego, he was right there for a title.
Speaking of titles, he won the inaugural Strikeforce Lightweight Championship. He defeated Josh Thompson. Oh my God, Josh Thompson for that title. And his very next fight, he lost it to Gilbert Melendez.
Right, to Gilbert. Yeah, dude. He in his prime, he was right there more than once. He's a quality fighter, man.
But let's see. In all of his more recent losses in the past few years, and a lot of them he's getting decisioned because he's Clay Guida and he's just so active and he bounces around so much. He's kind of hard to hurt and kind of hard to find. And he relies on his grappling so much. So if he ever gets into trouble, he's probably ducking under, and it keeps himself safe. It keeps his chin safe for the most part, and it helps prolong his career. But my God, what a career this man has had. But also, please stop fighting, Clay Guida. Just like, please. You're getting into your mid-40s, my man. But hey. Let's talk about the winner, though, Joaquim Silva. Because he is not 42. He's only 34. And now his record improves to 13-4. A little different from Clay Guida. But he's back in the win column after getting finished by Arman Tsarukyan back in June of this year. So coming off of this win now, what would you do next with Silva?
Give me a banger with Terrence McKinney. I think they're both clearly talented guys who have had some random ups and downs that have stopped them from truly breaking through to that next level. So I say let's put them together, let one of them move forward.
Oh, I like that quite a bit. The site Ranking MMA, I think they're reasonably updated again, but
sometimes they fall behind. Yeah,
not quite.
Yeah.
Like they have Tsarukyan ranked at number 10.
Yeah, they go in spurts. They'll update it like every 3 weeks and shit. It's not great.
This could just be like a guy who does this website.
It very well may be.
And he just probably gets busy
if I ever have it.
Yeah, right. This guy, he just gets caught up at work, and then he's like, I haven't updated in like 2 months.
Yep.
Okay, Clay Guida. If we're going with the assumption that he's not retiring, who should he fight next?
He ain't retiring. I'll say Mark Chikasi. Mark Chikasi has been grinding out a lot of dudes lately with his newfound wrestling. Let's see if he can do that to Clay.
I like it. Okay, last one here in the main card of this UFC Fight Night. In the middleweight division, Dustin Stoltzfus defeats Punahele Soriano by submission via rear naked choke. The official time, 4 minutes and 10 seconds into the second round. Say it ain't so. I like Punahele a lot. I was sad to see him lose again here against Stoltzfus. What's your take?
Punahele couldn't get it done, man. I had some hopes for him when he hit the UFC, but that may have been it, at least for now. I'm not sure he gets another one. It's not as if he didn't come out and do Punahele things. He landed a bunch of big shots in round 1, but Stoltzfus ate them to his credit. He was mostly rolling with shots, but some landed flush, and he just took them. And then he started to figure Punahele out as the fight went on, because Punahele was fighting super one note, just incredibly left hook dominant. And when that hook is not putting the other guy down and he gets to just make his reads and see that you're not throwing a lot of variety at him, the fight's going to start to change. And that's exactly what happened. The more time that passed, the more Stoltzfus started getting Punahele's timing down. Plus Punahele seemed like he started to slow down a little bit. Yeah. And then before you knew it, it's Dustin that's landing flush on Punahele. And eventually he managed to shift the fight into the grappling, and once there, it was all Dustin. So, Punahele tried to push through that neck crank, but then he eventually turned himself right into the rear naked choke, and it slipped right under, and that was all she wrote. So, another disappointing one for Punahele, but a really good performance from Dustin Stoltzfus.
Dude, you're right. It was pretty back and forth in the first round. I thought Stoltzfus stole it at the very end. And then in the second round, he just fucking came out and poured it on. And Punahele, he looked kind of out of sorts. I think to your point, he was fighting kind of one note. Totally agree.
Yep.
And Stoltzfus got that nasty takedown. And at that point, he was just kind of having his way. And eventually, he found that choke, and that's all she wrote, man. And I think you're right. At this point, let me try to pull this up here. Soriano. He joins the UFC, winning his first 2, both by knockout after winning on Contender Series. And then after that, he has lost 4 of his last 5, getting finished in both of his last 2. Tough stuff. He entered the UFC 6-0, entering the UFC. And now he is 9-4. So tough stuff from Puna. But let's talk about the winner here. Dustin Stoltzfus. I can't say his name right. I always second guess it. He rolls on here. He improves to 16-5, back in the win column after getting knocked out by Abus Magomedov in September of last year. So over a year, now he's back in the octagon, gets a finish over the very dangerous Soriano. Who do you think Stoltzfus can fight next at middleweight?
So I'm not going to go crazy with Stoltzfus. He is 2-4 in the UFC. To be fair, he was 1-4 coming into this fight. So I'm going to go with another guy who won on this card that we're going to talk about in a little bit, who I believe is in a similar spot in the division, and that's Cody Brundage.
Cody Brundage, nice. Also on this card, that's right. We're going to talk about him right now as we get into the lightning round. Do you want to match up Puna, or you think he's going to be out?
I think he's going to be out. If he's not, I'd try to grab I got my other computer to the left here, so I'm trying to glance over because I didn't match up Puna. I would try to grab another striker and just give him a shot to save his job with a knockout. So someone else who's kind of down there toward the bottom, maybe Abu Azaitar, who lost recently and is a knockout artist himself. Throw those 2 in there. See if one can knock out the other and save their UFC job.
For sure. Okay, let's hop into our lightning round because it's getting late, buddy. Here we go.
We only got 5 previews.
That's true. In the featured bout of the prelims of this UFC Fight Night card, Miesha Tate subs Julia Avila in the 3rd round. Take it.
Are you playing this lightning round, or is this a one-man lightning round?
I will play.
Okay. Holy fucking shit. Just when you start to wonder exactly what Miesha Tate still has to show, she goes out and does that. That might have been the most dominant Miesha Tate we've ever seen. You could argue that those rounds were 10-8, 10-8, and then obviously finish. Like you can't do better. Julia Avila was utterly helpless to stop the takedowns. She was on her back 20 seconds into every single round, and Miesha was a machine on the mat. Transitions, ground and pound, sub-hunting, all of it. Just a monster statement from Miesha that she has not done yet.
Yeah, this one was all Tate. It was just an absolute grappling clinic from the former bantamweight champ. And it's honestly great to see her getting her first win in over 2 years here against a talented Avila. Nice win, and I can't wait to see her back. It seems like she's back again, but we'll see. She looked like she was back the last time that she came back, and then she kind of, fell off. Okay, Cody Brundage knocks out Zachary Reese. I will go first. Cody Brundage spoils the UFC debut of Zachary Reese. Reese supposedly bringing in some danger into the UFC octagon, coming in 6-0 as a pro, having finished all 6 of his former opponents. But it turns out he was the one in danger, going for that triangle. Some notes of Rampage Jackson, obviously, though not quite as devastating of Rampage's, though the result was the same. Probably Brundage's greatest highlight inside the UFC octagon thus far in his career. If you haven't watched this, go watch it. Mark?
Yeah. First of all, the fact that this happened immediately after the other slam KO, which we're going to get to in 1 second because we're going in reverse order down this card, is absolutely insane. The odds of 2 fights in a row ending in a slam KO had to be about 1,000,000 to 1.
Right.
But we saw it again here, and this one was a bit more traditional than the other one that we're going to talk about. Like you said, in that Reese went for a triangle and Brundage grabbed the arm and did the typical, power bomb type lift, but still the impact was to the side of the head, which was the same thing we saw in the close one that we're going to get to. So I don't know if slams to the side of the head are about to be the new wave, but they worked pretty well on this night. And Brundage needed that one too, so good for him.
Okay, Drakkar Klose against Joe Selecki. Mark, take it.
Yeah, I mean, similar story here. This was absolutely nuts. I don't think I've ever seen a side of the head slam quite like this one, where a guy just went out cold on impact from being slammed at that angle. And while this fight lasted, Joe Selecki was the one that was in control. He had gotten the takedown. He was working. And even when Drakkar reversed position and got on top, Joe was the one that was sub-hunting, and he had gone for an armbar, which is what prompted the slam in the first place. But that one moment was all Drakkar needed. It was really his only other than reversing the position, it was his only solid moment of the fight, really. But it's all that mattered. So pretty nuts and a big win for him.
Dude, you got to feel for Joe Selecki in this one. 7-2 in the UFC, having won 8 of his last 9 professional bouts, seemingly not getting the love that he might deserve here in the UFC, and he won't be getting it off this performance, since he will now forever be on Drakkar Klose's highlight reel. This was short. He went for an ill-advised and ill-timed armbar, and Klose picks him up, slams him on the side, on his head, and that was all she wrote, man. He didn't even seem like Selecki's head was that far off the canvas, but it was all he needed to. I'd say I felt like both of these slam knockouts were in that high. I'm like, wow, I can't believe that like knocked him out.
Yeah, Brundage said it. He was like, I think there might be a little less padding on the cage tonight, because I didn't think that was going to knock him out.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay, the Brazilian. Rodolfo Bellato defeats Ihor Potieria in a fantastic comeback. Mark, take it.
Yeah, this was another one, like I just was saying about Joe Selecki, where the loser was looking really good. I mean, Potieria was looking fantastic in this fight. He was so fast. He was picking Bellato apart. He dropped him. He had him badly hurt, and he was so close to the stoppage, more than once, I'd have to imagine, in that sequence. But Bellato wouldn't go out, and Potieria got tired, and Bellato pushed through. And honestly, I don't know what this guy's deal is. Like, does he not feel pain? Because he ate a million shots. Even in round 1, he ate a million shots before he ever even dropped. And he just was unfazed. So I can't think of the last time I seen a guy who was so seemingly unaffected by damage. Like, his expression never even changed. But man, he just kept going, and eventually Potieria broke. And what a crazy way to win your debut for Rodolfo Bellato.
Yeah, dude. I mean, Potieria, the Ukrainian, wobbles Bellato in what was pretty action-packed first round that ended with some excitement, despite a little bit of booze during some clinch work. But more heavy leather, fireworks in the second round, with it looking like Potieria was on his way to a victory. But Bellato, fucking, to your point, he just survives like the fucking Terminator, gets back to his feet, scores a knockdown and takedown of his own, moves him out, rains down fire, and the referee saw enough and moved in and stopped the fight. Bellato earns the victory, rallying for the victory. And was that his UFC debut?
Yep.
Yeah.
And how fast were those fucking hands in the ground and pound? My God, it was like rabbit punches. Like,
yeah. Okay. Welterweights here. Jared Gooden defeats Wellington Turman by submission via rear naked choke. The official time, 1:11 of round number 2. I'll go first here. I mean, again, what a comeback by Gooden, who clearly was getting outclassed a bit in the first round, and it lands a massive left hook, and he did his job, swarming, executing, beautiful hip toss into full mount. Just too much punishment here, and Turman gives up his back and gets choked out. Definitely looking forward to seeing both of these guys back in the cage soon.
Yeah, this fight was nuts. Again, this is the team of the night. Wellington Turman looked so freaking good. He looked fantastic. I think it's the most impressive striking we've ever seen from him. He had Gooden hurt a couple times, but as you said, Jared Gooden authored one hell of a comeback. He landed a counter. He hurt Turman bad. He poured it on, and he never gave Turman a chance to pull himself back together. And then he got the rear naked choke on the jiu-jitsu ace just to top it off. So Yeah, the welterweight move not going so well for Turman, who's 0-2 there now, but Jared Gooden gets a real big win for himself.
Okay, last one here in the women's flyweight division. The opening bout of this UFC Fight Night once again it went down in Austin, Texas at the Moody Center. Veronica Hardy defeats Jamie Lynn Horth by split decision. Two of the judges going for Hardy with a 29-28 and Horth getting her own 29-28. Let me just say first here that Veronica Hardy clearly, in my opinion, I thought won the first 2 rounds. I think it should have been a UD for Lady Hardy. I can kind of see an argument for a split, but I think at the end of the night, the right lady had her hand raised, and she's going to go home with the win, earning another W for the Hardy family legacy here. And I think that her speed and accuracy being the difference maker in this one, and her activity, I think Horth definitely could have done a better job imposing her will with her size advantage here. But either way, looking forward to both of these ladies back in the cage. You?
Agree with everything you just said. Veronica Hardy does it again. Obviously, Dan Hardy has said he believes she can be the champ. She's got a long way to go to prove that, but she was an underdog here on the betting odds, and she pulled it off. And I thought she looked good. Like you said, she relied on the speed. I thought for the first 2 rounds, Horth seemed like she couldn't figure her out. She was letting Hardy dictate the fight. She did win the third, but she waited too long to switch things up. And yeah, I agree with you. I think Hardy clearly won rounds 1 and 2. Should have been a UD, and she is now 2-0 since making her return to the UFC.
Yeah, man. That does it. We did it. Let's put a bow on this fight night. Let us know now, Mark. I've been dying to know some of these risers and fallers, mostly the risers. Give us the Priaulx Rankings update, please.
All right, I shall. So we have 5 notable risers, 1 notable faller. The faller is Wellington Turman. He only his second fight in welterweight. It was hard to figure out where to put him when he first came down from middleweight. I believe at the time I had him in the 30s. He lost that fight. Coming into this fight, I had him at number 46. Now he loses to Jared Gooden. So he has fallen from number 46 to number 58 in my welterweight rankings. So not going so well for Wellington Turman. Didn't even mean to do the Wellington thing there, but it worked. Up to the risers, we'll work from the bottom of the card, and we'll work on the same fight I just was talking about. Jared Gooden jumps himself from number 68 to number 57 in my welterweight rank. So definitely a legitimizing win that he needed as he kind of goes through his second UFC stint now and tries to make something out of it. Another guy in a similar boat to that, Dustin Stoltzfus, badly needed a win, gets it. He goes from number 58 to number 47 in my middleweight rankings. And then the 3 bigger names who have moved up here. Sean Brady for me was still at number 13 in my welterweight ranks coming into this fight. He is now my number 10 ranked welterweight. Deiveson Figueiredo, as we've mentioned, was not ranked at bantamweight for me. Obviously, he was jumping into the division. He debuts as my number 7 ranked bantamweight. And then the main man, Arman Tsarukyan, he was my number 7 lightweight coming into this. He is now number 4.
Woo!
And that does it for this week.
All right. Are there any headlines that you know of that you want to do a mini sphere?
I know that Brandon Moreno and Amir Albazi was made official.
Nice.
So that is a good fight. That's going to be on the same card as Brian Ortega, Yair Rodriguez. And I think I heard that they're both 5-rounders. So that will be very cool. I know that Bryce Mitchell is the replacement opponent for Giga Chikadze, who has fallen out. So Bryce Mitchell will now fight Josh Emmett. So that's a good fight. And what was the other? Dan Ige was booked against Lerone Murphy, which is a very solid fight and one that we've actually said on here should be made, and they went with it. So look at us go.
Nice.
I think that might be it. I'm trying to think if anything else noteworthy has been announced. I don't believe so.
Okay, let's talk about this coming weekend now. UFC Fight Night, Song versus Gutierrez. Saturday, December 9th, going down at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada, headlined by a pair of bantamweight crackers here, Song Yadong and Chris Gutierrez. Before we get to that main event and the other main card fights that we're going to talk about, Mark. Are there any undercard? Yeah, no problem. Are there any undercard fighters or fights that you want to just quickly spotlight for our viewers and listeners?
Certainly going to highlight the boy Tatsuro Taira. He is on the undercard. He's fighting Carlos Hernandez. I don't know why they refuse to let him move past this level of fighter. I would think he has won enough. I'm looking quick. Is he 3-0 or 4-0? Yeah, that's what I thought. He's 4-0. To me, we're at the ranked opponent level here, and it's just not happening. So he's fighting Carlos Hernandez. He's a big favorite. He's 5-1. So hopefully he can put on another show. I do think he should have a significant grappling edge and that he can get it into that realm in that fight. The other that I'll note is Kenan Song and Kevin Jusay, I think is how he says it. I actually forget from his debut if it was Jusset or Jusay. I think it was Jusay. But he is the training partner of Izzy down at CKB and all those boys. He looked very solid in his debut. He's fighting Kenan Song, who I actually feel like is a pretty underrated welterweight. So I'm looking forward to that one. That is the featured prelim. It was on the main card until yesterday, and then it switched from a 6-fight main to a 5-fight main. So now it's the featured prelim. But yeah, I'm interested to see if Kevin Jusay can follow up on his impressive debut.
Okay. So you want to start with, it went down to a 5-fight main card?
Yep. Right? Is that what you see?
No. What do you see? What does it start with?
Are you on UFC.com?
No. Which fight was demoted to the undercard?
The one I just said.
Kenan.
Yeah.
So we'll start with Park. Right.
I'm going to UFC.com right now. I thought that's what I saw earlier today. Yeah, so it's the main card opens with Park, then the Elliott fight, then Nasrat, and obviously the two.
Okay. Let's do this, baby. Okay, here we go. Let me pull up these. Here we go. Okay, we go to the middleweight division with a very, very fun fight at middleweight here, opening up this main card of this UFC Fight Night. At 185, Jun-Young Park taking on Andre Muniz. What a matchup here. Jun-Young Park, the Iron Turtle. Of course, the 32-year-old fighting out of Seoul, South Korea. 17-5 as a pro with 11 finishes on a 4-fight win streak, Mark, coming into this Saturday. Most recently, finishing Albert Duraev by submission via rear naked choke back in July of this year. And he'll be taking on probably his toughest test to date, at least on paper, Andre Muniz, the 33-year-old out of Brazil, 23-6 with 15 submission victories on his record. Very much looking to get back in the win column is Muniz, having lost back-to-back fights in his last two outings at the hands of Brendan Allen and Paul Craig. Mark, give us your take and your pick. Jun-Young Park against Andre Muniz.
I was writing down Omar's picks from our text, so we remember to share them with the people. I'll share his first, actually, while I'm at it. Omar has gone with Park by second round KO for this
fight.
Okay, odds-wise, Park is the favorite, despite the fact that Muniz is kind of at the higher standing in the division at this point in time. Park is minus 175. Muniz is plus 145 as the dog. Muniz is taller and longer. He's 3 inches taller. He's got a 5-inch reach advantage, so pretty significant numbers there. And, this is a difficult fight to pick because, as you alluded to, Park has very quietly won 7 of 8 fights in the UFC, which if you're winning 7 of 8 fights, you're pretty damn good. It doesn't matter who it's against. Whereas Muniz has been finished twice in a row and has not looked great in either one of them. But even still, he has wins over higher level guys than Jun-Young Park does. So you could argue he's more proven against the top flight competition. So it's a tough one to gauge the levels each of these guys are at as they meet here. I do think on paper, Park is the choice. He should be the more dangerous striker. He's probably the better pure wrestler. He should have the better cardio. And he is not easy to grapple against. He's very compact. He's the Iron Turtle. So
Right.
I don't imagine it's going to be easy for Muniz. So it really, on paper, I believe, does favor Park. And I see he's the betting favorite, and I'm sure that's why. But I'm going to maybe dumbly choose to believe in Andre Muniz one last time. He is much bigger and much longer. He has shown us a level of submission danger on his run up where he had 4 subs in a row that we have not seen from very many guys before. So I'm going to choose to ignore the recent information that I have in front of me and say that he can find a way to a submission, being the much bigger, longer man here by the middle of this fight before any cardio comes into play. And I'm going to say Andre Muniz wins by round 2 submission.
So you're thinking that Muniz is going to pop back here kind of to his old form. I will say I'm going to roll with Omar on this one. You're rolling with him one more time. For me, this is a fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice, shame on you kind of thing. I thought going into his Brendan Allen fight, I'm pretty sure I was picking Muniz in that fight. Because going up until that point, he was on such a tear. And to your point, bringing in so much danger. You're right, at 185. He is a big guy at 185. And a serious submission threat. A guy with real jiu-jitsu chops at middleweight, which not a ton of guys have. And leading up to his Brendan Allen fight, against Uriah Hall, Eric Anders, Jacare. He finishes Jacare. He finishes Eric Anders. And he looks like a freaking world beater, this guy. And then, dude, and his fights against Brendan Allen and against Paul Craig, I'm like, he looks like a different guy in there. I don't know what it is. I almost want to say something else in his life, or like his personal life is like taken away from his training or something. He just looked to me so different in his last couple outings compared to like this beast who is coming up the rankings here. So at this point, because it happened again against Paul Craig, I'm going to go with the Iron Turtle here, a guy who's trending in the other direction here. So I'm going to say Jun Young Park by decision. I think he's going to beat up Andre Muniz across 3 rounds and get his hand raised on the scorecards. All right.
Like it. Yeah, I think the inexplicable fall off is why I'm choosing to believe one more time. Because I'm like, the talent is there. At some point, right. It's got to show itself.
The talent and the attributes, the size.
Yeah.
Okay, this is going to be a really fun fight here. Sumudaerji taking on, who's his opponent here? Tim Elliott. There he is. I found him.
Yeah, this one until very recently was Sumudaerji against Alan Nascimento, right. But Nascimento fell out. I don't even know. 2 days ago, maybe that was, or yesterday. I can't even remember. And and Tim Elliott jumped in.
Yeah, I have it here. Nascimento withdrew from the fight due to injury. Did not say when. This was published. Yeah, the article on this was published yesterday. So
yeah, I think it was yesterday morning. It was pretty short notice for Tim.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, Sumudaerji, the Tibetan Eagle, the 27-year-old fighting out of China, 16-5 as a pro, with 13 of his 16 wins coming by way of knockout. He has not fought since that incredible fight against Matt Schnell, in which he was winning that fight, if memory serves. And then Matt Schnell pulls off an incredible comeback, choking him out, I believe. Yes, it was a triangle choke, giving us one of the most memorable and memeable moments in Matt Schnell's career, flashing the money signs on his back with a passed out Sumudaerji in a heap in front of him here. So let's not forget, Sumudaerji looked pretty damn good in that fight for most of that fight. So his opponent here is going to have his hands full no matter what. Tim Elliott, the 36-year-old, fighting out of Lee's Summit, Missouri, USA, 19-13 with 1 draw, 9 finishes, on his pro MMA record. Also looking to get back in the win column, losing to Muhammad Makayev to arm triangle back in October of this year. Mark, give us the take, or give us Omar's take first and pick. Not take, but just pick.
Omar has gone with Tim Elliott to win a decision.
Wow.
Man, sorry about this cough, everybody. Trying to work through it. Okay, so Tim Elliott, despite the short notice, is the betting favorite. He's minus 155. Sumudaerji is a plus 130 underdog. Sumudaerji, however, is 1 inch taller and has a 6-inch reach advantage at flyweight, which is unheard of. This one to me simply comes down to whether Sumudaerji can clip Elliott using that reach and finish him before Elliott manages to drag this one to the mat. And he's very live to do that. We've seen the success he can have with his range striking before. The length is obviously going to help, and it could certainly happen. But Tim Elliott is herky-jerky enough that he is really hard to find in there, especially early. And I think that allows him to see what's coming, to get Sumudaerji's timing down without getting clipped, and to start finding entries to work his wrestling. And on the mat, I think Elliott's got him outgunned. We've seen Sumudaerji sub before, and I think Tim Elliott is a guy who can make that happen again. So I will go Tim Elliott by round 2 submission.
Oh, baby. I will be rolling with Mr. Sumudaerji in this fight. Or really, Mudaerji is probably his first name, right? Yeah. We've been over this, okay? Forget it. Yeah. I mean, I like Tim Elliott, and I do like his unorthodox style. He's fun to watch. That being said, I don't think that he's going to get finished by Sumudaerji, even though Mudaerji is a damn finisher. But Tim Elliott here, across his 30-plus pro fighting career, he's only been knocked out once. So I think that Mudaerji, he's going to have hands for Elliott, and I think he is eventually going to find Elliott. I think he's going to go to a decision here, and I think that Mudaerji is going to have landed the majority of the damage in this fight. Give me Sumudaerji on the scorecards, UD. Who do Omar? Tell me again who Omar took.
Elliott decision.
And you're taking Elliott, right?
Yes.
Okay, we go to now the lightweights. Nasrat Haqparast taking on Jamie Mullarkey. So Haqparast is the 28-year-old out of Morocco. His record stands at 15-5 entering this weekend. 9 knockouts of his 15 wins have come by way of knockout. No submission victories, notable. He's only been finished twice in his career. 1 knockout, 1 time he got subbed. Coming off back-to-back wins coming into this weekend. Most recently, Lando Quinones back in September of this year. So he's just a couple months later, he's hopping right back into the saddle, taking on the Aussie Jamie Mullarkey, 29 years old, out of South Wales, Australia, 17-6 as a pro. 13 of his 17 wins have been finishes, 10 of those knockouts, coming off of a UD over John Makdessi. Let's hear Omar's pick.
Omar has gone with Jamie Mullarkey to win a decision.
Okay.
So he's going with the dog. He's going with the dog here because Jamie is plus 160. Nasrat is a minus 200 favorite in this fight.
It's a nice fight.
Huh?
It's a nice fight. I like this fight a lot.
Me too. Jamie's a bit longer. He's 2 inches taller, 2-inch reach advantage. And this is a really hard fight to call for me because both guys can look very good at times and then look very average at other times. Their styles are different in that Haqparast excels more when he can keep the fight cleaner and rely on his technique, whereas Mullarkey excels when he can turn the fight into a brawl. They've both put some runs together where they look like they're on the rise, but neither one of them has really ever managed to break through. So both these guys need this fight. It's pretty big for the two of them. And I don't know. I have a feeling Jamie Mullarkey is going to get this done because in his recent fights, he has been fighting very well overall, outside of giving some big moments to his opponent where he'll make a mistake and get clipped and get caught and it swings around or whatever it may be. Even the win he got over McDessie, that almost happened. But Nasrat Haqparast is just not a big moment type of fighter. He hasn't been a finisher. He doesn't carry huge power. So I think that allows Jamie time to work, maybe even to find a late finish. But either way, I think the bigger moments come from him as this fight goes on. And I think that lets him be ahead on the cards when this thing is said and done. So I will go Jamie Mullarkey, UD.
We agree on this one. Even though Nasrat Haqparast I view as a talented guy overall, nothing about him has really stood out to me or made me feel like, oh man, this is a guy that is really going to make some waves in this division. Jamie Mullarkey, maybe to a slightly greater degree. I think that his higher finish rate kind of reflects that. He's got nice attributes for the weight class. I agree that I don't see him finishing Haqparast here, even though he definitely has knockout power. So I will also take Mullarkey by UD. I don't know if I've picked a finish yet. I just might in this next one. All right, here we go. This is maybe a fight that I'm looking forward to the most on this card. We have Anthony Lionheart-Smith taking on Khalil, the Warhorse Rountree. Anthony Smith, the 35-year-old out of Omaha, Nebraska, 37-18. That is his professional record, 37-18. Out of his 37 victories, Mark, only 3 have gone the distance. This man has 20 knockout wins and 14 submission wins. That is a little astounding. I have to say, it's a little astounding. After dropping back-to-back fights, getting finished by Ankalaev and then losing to Johnny Walker, he bounced back with a split decision win over Ryan Spann this past August. And now he'll be standing across from the 33-year-old out of Las Vegas, Khalil Rountree. His record stands at 12-5 with 8 of his 12 wins coming by way of knockout. He has 0 submission victories. He also has 1 no contest. Khalil is riding a 4-fight win streak coming into this weekend, most recently knocking out Chris Daukaus back in August. So both these men have fought most recently in August. Also notable, in this 4-fight win streak, 3 of these 4 wins have come by way of knockout. Omar, who did you pick?
Omar took Khalil Rountree by round 2 knockout.
Khalil Rountree by round 2 knockout. I will go next. I think you guys can probably predict this pick for me because I am a Khalil Rountree guy. Nothing against Anthony Smith. In fact, this might be a dumb pick because Anthony Smith probably has more ways to win in this fight. But that being said, Khalil, I think, is really coming into his own, really accepting and trusting his abilities and his power. For a guy who brings his level of Muay Thai prowess to the UFC light heavyweight division is really something to behold in moments. And I still have that memory of him soccer kicking Carl Roberson in the chest on the ground, which lifted his body off the mat. So I also will be going with Khalil Rountree, and I'll go with Omar, and I'll say round 2 TKO for Khalil. Mark, what do you got?
All right. So this fight came together on about 2 weeks' notice. I don't remember if you said that in your intro, but Khalil was supposed to fight Azamat Mirzakhanov last week. Mirzakhanov got sick. Smith jumped in. They delayed the fight 1 week to, accommodate Smith a little bit, and here we are. So not very long training camps for either of these guys to prepare for the other. Khalil is minus 240 on the betting line, which is fairly wide, wider than I expected to see. Anthony Smith is plus 190 as the dog. He is 3 inches taller, Smith, but Khalil will have a half-inch reach advantage. I love this matchup. It's such an interesting fight because for every damn second that it lasts on the feet, Anthony Smith is going to be in danger. But at any moment that Anthony Smith gets this fight down to the mat, it could end. So there's an argument to be made that Anthony Smith can hang well enough on the feet to be okay until he finds opportunities to grapple. And like I said, if he can get it down there, I do think Khalil could potentially be in a lot of trouble and maybe fairly quickly. But I think Khalil is in prime form right now, and I think he's going to break through here. Anthony Smith's legs are there to be kicked. Johnny Walker just showed us that. And if you thought Johnny Walker leg kicks were bad, Khalil Rountree in that department may be even worse. And I think he's going to lean on that early and often. He's going to start loading up and picking some heavier shots more and more as the fight goes on and Anthony Smith slows down because of the damage to the legs. Maybe Khalil does get taken down once and has to survive a hairy spot or two, but I will say that he can wear Smith down and starts to smell blood and does something that is not easy to do, which is finish Anthony Smith. And I am going to make this unanimous and go with Khalil by round 2 TKO.
Wow. So we're all taking Khalil in round 2. My goodness.
Yep.
I thought at least one of us would have taken Smith.
Yeah, we all, there may be a little fanboy in here. I mean, I don't know. I that's really how I feel, though.
Okay, let's wrap this up, man. Last one here. Main event, UFC Fight Night. Song versus Gutierrez, once again going down at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada. The main event is a bantamweight clash between Song Yadong and Chris Gutierrez. Song Yadong, let's pull this up. The Kung Fu Kid, the 26-year-old fighting out of China. His record stands at 20-7 with 1 draw and 1 no contest. 9 knockout victories, add 3 submission victories to that as well. Most recently, knocking out Ricky Simone earlier this year in April. Chris Gutierrez steps into probably the biggest spot of his career thus far. He is 32 years old and he is fighting out of Greenville, Texas, USA. His record stands at 20-5 with 2 draws, 10 finishes. 9 of those are knockouts. After losing to Pedro Munoz back in April, he has hopped back in the win column with a decision victory this past October. Omar, start us off. Give us your take and your pick.
I really just had a moment where I was like, dude, he's not here. Didn't register what you were doing. Omar has gone with Yadong, round 3 knockout.
Yadong, round 3 knockout. I'll go next. I'll say what I think is that the question here is how good is Chris Gutierrez? We have a good sense now that Song Yadong is very good. For bantamweight, he packs serious power. He's pretty damn durable, and he's dangerous as hell, pretty much at any point in the fight. Chris Gutierrez, like I said, he's arriving at his toughest fight of his career, I believe. So the question is his. The test is his. And I think that Song Yadong is going to turn him back. Chris Gutierrez has some tremendous fucking leg kicks, some of the best leg kicks in the division. But I think Song Yadong, his talent and his power is going to be another level that Chris Gutierrez has not experienced thus far. That being said, Chris Gutierrez has never been knocked out, and this is a case where I don't think he's going to get knocked out, but I think he's going to feel that power, and I think that Song Yadong is going to take at least 3 rounds here. I will take Song Yadong by unanimous decision. Mark, take us home.
Like it. Let me write down that you have taken a Yadong. Okay, so the odds are wide. Song Yadong is minus 390. Chris Gutierrez is a plus 290 underdog. Reaches are the same. Gutierrez is 1 inch taller. I think those odds are a little crazy. I get it that Song Yadong is the more proven of the two, but he did lose to Corey Sandhagen. He did lose to Kyler Phillips. He arguably lost to Chito Vera. He drew with Cody Stamann. It's not like he has some flawless record. So I'm surprised to see him a 4-1 favorite over someone as good as Chris Gutierrez. I mean, Song's record in the UFC is 9-2-1. Chris's is 8-2-1. He's right there. Their roads have been pretty similar. And Chris finished Frankie Edgar, so it's not like his resume is devoid of big names. So I think that's a little bit of disrespect to Gutierrez, and I do think he has a game that could potentially give Song Yadong some trouble if he fights the best fight he can fight. He can really try to play that range game, just stay behind the jab, rip leg kicks that eventually become body kicks, that eventually become head kicks. His kick game is that good. Like the way people talk about Jonathan Martinez's kicks, Chris Gutierrez is like the 1B to that game at bantamweight. And I do think he's going to have success because I'm actually envisioning this fight as like a competitive 5-round war. And I kind of thought that for Beneil and Arman last week. Obviously, that did not happen. So I hope I'm right this time and we get to see a really good one. But in the end, as a straight pick, I do like the odds on Gutierrez. As a straight pick, I'm going to go with Song Yadong just because I think there are more tools in the bag. I think he could shoot a takedown and steal some control time if he needs to secure a round, or even find that against the fence if he needs it. He is a tank of a man. He should be the stronger guy here. And I also think he can find moments where he steps inside and lands the bigger shots and changes rounds and provides the moments that more so stick in the judge's mind. So he's going to have to be careful to not be hobbled, 15 minutes into this fight with 2 rounds to go by leg kicks. He's going to have to check kicks. He's going to have to move responsibly to make sure that doesn't add up too much. But if he can do that, I think he can find the bigger moments. I think that will be enough to sway the judges on 3 of these rounds. So I'll say it's close. I'll say both men do make it to the cards, but I'm going to go 48-47 for Song Yadong.
Nice. Did we all take Song?
We did.
We did.
All took Song. All took Rountree. All took Mullarkey.
That's funny.
Me and Omar took Elliott. You took Sumudaerji. You and Omar took Park. I took Muniz.
All right, then. That's it. We did it. We fucking did it.
We did.
2-man show. Omar, if you're listening to this, and I know you are, enjoy the rest of your vacation.
Yes, sir.
That's it, man. How do you feel not having to drive anywhere now?
I do love that part, that I'm just going to close this computer and go into my bed. It's pretty fantastic.
Fucking new era, man.
Not be blasted by cold air outside or anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and it's fine, dude.
Man.
I've been blowing it a little bit because I was always so concerned about waking up my kids because their room is like, it's not directly above me, but it's like right there. But when I tested it, knowing I had to do it here now, I forgot they have a sound machine on at night. Like it's like, and you don't hear shit. So like, I was so concerned that I couldn't do it here because I'd wake them up, but it's totally fine.
Yeah, sound machines are effective.
Yeah, I've been missing out on the ability to do it here. Like I said, I gotta figure out something to pizzazz this view for you guys going forward, so I'm not just in a random white corner. But we'll figure that out.
One of my least favorite things is being shushed in my own house, and when my kids are sleeping and like other family members are like, "Shh," I'm like, they can't hear anything.
Dude, all the time, I'll be talking to Taryn at night, and she'll be like, quiet. And that's my exact response. I'm like, they cannot hear us.
Like, they cannot. And even if they could hear my voice in the background of the house, like, they are going to learn to freaking deal with that.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's enough. I'll get off my fucking soapbox. All right, buddy. We will reconvene next week talking about the aftermath of this fight night and talking about UFC 296 next weekend.
Yeah, that's a big
baby.
preview. Did I tell you that I'm fucking missing 296, dude? I want to cry.
You're missing our show, or you can't watch the fights, you mean?
No, the pay-per-view.
Where are you going to be?
Taryn's cousin is getting married.
Oh.
Dude, I swear to God, any wedding in my life Like in a month, there is only one pay-per-view out of 4 or 5 weekends that are in a month.
Right.
If I ever have a wedding for the past 5 years, it is on a pay-per-view. It is never not on a pay-per-view. I don't understand it.
It's true. It's a big weekend.
It's horrible.
It's a great card, dude. I'm looking at it now. I'm sorry.
It's incredible. It's such a good card. Yeah, I might inject myself with the flu.
Surely there might be a little iPhone viewing during the wedding reception or something.
It's a pay-per-view, though, dude. What the fuck am I going to do? Order it and watch it on the iPhone?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. You got to do what you got to do, dude.
Use a little streaming website.
Yeah.
Have Dana hunt me
All
down.
right, man. Hey, fun 2-man show, buddy.
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
You know what else was good? I enjoyed being a part of the lightning round. I really did.
There you go.
It was
We'll
fun.
have to make you part of it going forward.
It's going to make it longer, though.
True. Omar
Less
makes it long
lightning.
enough. It was so quick without Omar.
It's just like, all right, this is the lightning round. Okay, Omar, go. And he's like, yeah, so I thought that this guy, he's okay. And
I have 6 points.
it's all in love, Omar. All right, let's get out of here, buddy.
All right. Thank you, folks. Hope you enjoyed the 2-man show. We'll see you next time. Peace.